We are going live, and I still haven't found out how to open up the chat. So bear with me. If you want to send me an email, people, my email is viva783149 at gmail.com. If you want to send me an email. Hello, people from Yahoo Land, people from YouTube Land, people from Google Land, people from TikTok Land, people from Parla Land, and people from all over the world. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thanksgiving for people here in the United States. Happy Hanukkah for people who are practicing the Jewish religion. And happy any other festivity that's going on. Just trying to remember everything that's going on. I don't know, I drew a blank all of a sudden. But anyway, we are here and we are trying to move forward on this analysis, on this commentary, and in some cases, opinion. And I will tell you at the end of my comment or at the end of the sentences, it's my opinion. If it's an analysis, I'll just leave it as is. If it's a straightforward reporting, I'll just leave it as is also, because I want to make sure that you start to understand the difference. And that's the only reason why I'm going to say at the end of the sentences, whether it's one sentence or two sentences or three, I'm going to say at the end, that was my opinion. And from there on, you will begin to analyze and to understand the dynamics of journalism. Now, journalism, straightforward from school, is to understand the facts and relate the facts. Understand the facts and relate the facts. There was a program, an old program back in the late 60s, somewhere in the 60s, that was called Dragnet. Maybe it came down from the 50s and it's dragged on into the 60s, into the late 60s. But the name of the program is called Dragnet. And the main two police officers are Thursday and Friday. That was their name. I mean, sounds like a joke, but that was their name. My name is Friday and he is Thursday. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of like a semi comedy more than anything else. The program itself was a semi comedy or was a comedy, but one of the main things that stood out in the whole series, because I practically saw this whole series. I didn't see the whole series, but I saw practically all the episodes of Dragnet. And one of the things that stood out throughout the series until I stopped seeing it was the two police officers would question somebody and says, "Lady, we just want the facts. No double talk, no side comments, just the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Or just the facts, sir. Just the facts." And that's what journalism is in a nutshell. It conveys the most information there is available for a given issue. So let's talk about the fraud. That's an issue of the fraud. The fraud, after 4 years of somebody lying at you and pulling your leg and yanking your chain and doing all kinds of mischief and being at a bully pulpit, you kind of get cold feet to see if what that person is saying is really true. He accuses the media, the reporters that are there, that they are the fake news. But in reality, he is a fake news. He is a fake conveyor of news. The reporters now have the task to weave in through what he's saying, kind of see different ways to put the sentence and say, did he mean this? Did he mean that? What is he saying? What is he saying? And pretty soon you get the picture of who you're dealing with. And you say, wait, hold on. There's something wrong in this picture. Of course, there's something wrong in this picture. There's a guy who lies at you. There's a guy who every 3 or 4 sentences there's a big lie. So it's undependable information that that person does. Now, it can be with the purpose of transmitting lies, so the spies out there that are looking at him, they might be in the audience too as reporters, disguised as reporters or spies, and they're trying to see what he's going to do. So he tells a bunch of lies. So behind the scene, he does something else. He doesn't need to do that. As a president, he just doesn't need to say it. Period. And that's it. And then after the matter, when everything pans out, he says, "Well, I did this. I didn't say it to you guys because it's of national security, because it was a sensitive issue. More that would be the more exact way to say it. A sensitive issue, not national security. That kind of has turned out into a cliche. But yeah, that's the honest approach, the clear approach. You don't bullshit people like that. You don't yank their chain. You don't pull their rug under their feet. You don't yank their teeth out. You just spell it out and just leave a lot of blanks. Now, when I'm saying this, and even though I am criticizing Donald Trump in this manner, there's something important to take note of. When you read any piece of journalism, no matter how good the journalist is, no matter how nobody. I mean, there could be a couple of somebodies who be assholes and they seem to be straight for the truth, and they don't want to butter up or sweeten it up or say anything, but they just plainly tell you the truth. But they have a prima donna attitude, which doesn't match them being blunt and straightforward with you when there are prima donnas. Now, Jesus Christ, and I'm going to bring him into the picture just because he represents someone who tells the truth in a humble way that makes you reflect what you're saying and what you're judging and what you're condemning. And many times he puts it in a question format. He says 2 sentences and then throws a question. And that in itself is a humble way of addressing something without injuring somebody's feelings. Having said that, mannerism is very much truth. And everybody who's growing up and as you grow up, there's a character named Barney, and he is a champion of mannerisms. He stresses manners in many ways and fashions, and that's one of the things that we should uh, learn to do. But even if you tell lies, many people hold a crush and they have a chip on their shoulder. They're prima donnas. They're insensitive people. They're narcissists. They have some type of rebellion in them, and they have anger in them, and they have all kinds of personality issues. They're telling you a bunch of lies, but along with the lies goes along with the hurt. So on one hand, with one hand they're telling you lies, and with the other hand they're stabbing you on the back with a pitchfork. Not even a knife; it's a pitchfork. Just like the comics on the devil, they're stabbing you with a pitchfork. So where is the reality behind all this? Where is the real line? Where is the real thing? You can't see it because it's all a facade. It's all apparently it's there, but you can't see it. You can't touch it. You hear it and you don't know where the sound comes from. But it's a mirage. It's a smoke screen, and the person behind the smoke screen could be the Wizard of Oz, just like in the story of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. So politicians need to take away that they have to be honest, they have to be truthful. They're leaders. Even in the gangster world, remember I did a video on the gangsters not too long ago on organized crime? Same thing. I mean, I'm using the organized crime people because I feel that they have a negative tint on them. Not that they deserve it, but they have a negative tint. And because of that negative tint, you pay closer attention. But in the practical sense of organizational design, organizing things, organizational design is a subject in graduate school, but it's still organizing things, putting things in their proper order. Even those people, their leader doesn't bullshit them. And I use this word with a reservation that I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying when I say bullshit, because everybody knows what that is, whether it's the guy who is homeless and the guy who is up there with billions of dollars, Edmund Musk. He knows what that is. He uses the word himself. So it's not something that he's telling, but it's super clear, even though some people might think it's a foul language, which in a way might point it in that direction. But it serves the purpose of explaining what people do, the behavior of people. The people don't behave in an honest and straightforward manner that convey meaning and have content to what they're saying. It's a hollow language, a bunch of hollow words that are meaningless content, and all they do is irritate you, excite you, and lead you to nowhere. It's almost like bridge in Alaska, the bridge to nowhere. So it's important that you guys understand this in this election beyond. So we were talking about fraud. So a good journalist, and I heard this from I forgot who I heard it from. It was probably in TikTok. I listen to TikTok. I listen to the parlays. I listen to the Instagram. I try to follow social media in the most, and some have recordings, some don't have recordings. Some have upload videos, some don't upload, and they just write stuff. But I read through it. I mean, I try to get the holistic picture of everything that's going on and try to give a. And Edmund and I do it. So Edmund helps a lot in this sense. So it's the word fraud was brought out by Donald Trump way before the elections. He started to bring out the word fraud. Like he wanted it to happen. So if I say I'm going to get $5 million tomorrow, I don't get them. But then I say again, I'm going to get them the next day. And I don't get them the next day. And then the next day, say, I'm going to get them the next day. I'm going to get $5 million the next day. And I'm going to get $5 million. And you're listening to what I'm saying. And pretty soon you're going to believe what I'm saying, that, yeah, he's going to get $5 million the next day. And it registers in your head. And I can go on for 90 years saying the same thing, and you believe me that I'm going to get $5 million the next day. Did I get them? No, I didn't get them. Will I ever get them? Well, my 90 years from into the future, I'll probably be dead sooner than later. A lot of people die at 90 or 91, or somewhere up there. When you're in the 90s, days are just a tick tock away from death. Yet, we need to understand the dynamics of wishful thinking and lying, because they go hand in hand. Sometimes wishful thinking is truly somebody who is desiring to achieve a certain goal, hoping to reach a certain target. But when you're lying and wishing at the same time, It becomes a negative, a double negative, because you're not really wishing it. You're just saying it because in a way you want to, the people who are listening to you, you want them to confirm it in their head. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to happen someday. And that's not the way it works. That is not the leader. That is not the way. That's not a friend. That is not a friend. A friend tells you the truth. I'm going to work and I'm going to save and I'm going to, in 5 years from today, I'll have $1 million. Well, it's possible if he works hard and saves his money and half starves himself and pays a low rent and lives in some beat up shack. Maybe at the end of a year or a year and a half, he reaches his goal and gets saves up $1 million. I mean, it's possible. And he gets better jobs as he's moving throughout time. And the higher he gets, the more pay he gets, the more he saves, and the closer he gets to his goal. It's achievable when you have that dynamics. But when you're going nowhere and you're sitting around and you're trying to administrate an operation and you can't do it, so you begin to lie. You begin to say, "Hey, I don't know how to. I mean, we're going to do this and we're going to do that," but everything that you do is backfiring. What saved George W. Bush from the chaotic situation that he was in? Because he didn't do shit here in Texas. No, he didn't. He was governor here in Texas, and that was a fiasco. If he would have stayed longer, he would have ruined the state of Texas. Would have gone under like all these other places had. They all went under. In one way or another, he was in the thrift business and he went under. He was in the savings and loan business, he went under. He was in the oil and gas and that company went under. It's weird how it happens, yet his father had millions of dollars. So it's not father who can bail you out all the time, even though you get bailed out and bailed out and bailed out, and you leave a mediocre you are a mediocre person living a pompous life. That doesn't I mean if you're somebody who's a pompous and is a productive person, well, you kind of go hand in hand. But if you're a mediocre person and live a pompous life and brag that you are at the top of the world, you're king of the hill, you're lying through all the teeth you have. That's how bad you're lying. So what saved George W. Bush? The knockdown of the Twin Towers, that was one, and then him declaring war on Saddam Hussein. There's theories out there, and some, when I'm gonna do a video on conspiracy theories, but I'm gonna just give a blurb right now on conspiracy. That there's a dual conspiracy that is still kind of rolling out there uh, within Christians and non-Christians, and who knows who. It's a soup salad that doesn't have an end. It's like a black hole of people just spouting out a bunch of lies themselves with its conspiracy theories. Bunch of dreamers that dream all this detailed dreams. Even Jonah didn't get so much details from God. I mean, you can read it in the Bible. Jonah was told to go to Nineveh because the people were sinners, and that's all that God told him. He didn't tell him, "Oh, well, this guy's this and this guy's that, and they're going to have elections, and this guy's going to win." But you got to go tell him, because if you don't tell him, this guy's not going to win, and I want him to win. You know, give me a break. That has no sense. That has no meaning. You go to the Bible and you'll find nothing like that. Nobody, nobody gets that grave a detail and an animation in a revelation from God, because that's what God gives you, revelations. And in the dreams, he reveals something to you. He doesn't showcase a whole drama stage. And then they say, oh, well, that was my dream. And people are haunting me with this dream. And I just have to say it because I'm a pastor of a church. And so what the hell? So you are. Well, that's good for you. Stay there. Well, share the dream. Share the dream. I mean, you got the platform, share it. I mean, we can hear it. Doesn't mean we're going to believe you, but we can hear it. If it happens, and hooray. If it doesn't happen, we move on. No harm, no foul. That's what you should say. I'm going to share this dream, but if it comes true, fine. If it doesn't, fine. I just wanted people to know that this was a dream, not the dream, but a dream, which has puzzled me. So then you throw it out there, and people from the other side, from the dark side, will interpret it, and think people from the middle side will interpret it, and everybody in the world is going to get involved. But the people from God's side, they're not going to interpret it. They're going to just ignore it and move on. They got bigger and better things to do than be dwelling around from some dream nut who's out there saying that the world's going to fall like Chicken Little. And many people have dreams because they have an agenda. That's another thing. That word has become also a cliche, agendas. Everybody has an agenda. So the fraud people, another agenda, and we're talking about journalism. The journalists, if they see an issue that has merit, and like everything else, think about this. If I'm a truck driver and I can capitalize on driving loads under this route, and my pay is great, and I'm able to capitalize on moving load, and I found a way how to do it in a very timely manner and more effective and more efficient, and I can also repair my truck and keep my truck going. Pretty soon I'll be able to buy a second truck. Then I'll have more. I have an employee that's going to be driving my truck, and we'll be continue to exploit this and find another route that we can use, and then continue on the spiral. And pretty soon, this person, because of the hard work and the enthusiasm and the dedication he has, and finding out what saves money, what saves time, how make it more effective, how customer service helps. All the ingredients put together, he pretty soon, over time, over 5 years, now he has 25 trucks. Now he's not a small company anymore. 25 trucks is a medium-sized company, not shabby. He's doing well, and he has the opportunity to go lobby and go talk to state representatives and senators and all this, and talk to other lobbyists that are there because there's some regulations that don't make sense for the trucking industry. That's how you change things. That's how you change things. Sometimes you got to take a different route. But let's go back to the fraud case. The fraud case, like I said, has to have some meat in it for an investigative journalist to use that meat and go into that deep subject, go into the rabbit hole, bring out the facts, throw out the facts out there. People are going to just shit on their pants. Sorry to use that word, and they're going to know the reality, and then he's going to win the Pulitzer Prize. See, there's a career path here. Nonetheless, it has to be something that merits. Fraud merits. If you find fraud and if you know that fraud's happening, well, then you collect all this evidence, you collect all this information, you put the puzzle together and you put a picture, and soon you will be able to convey what you see in that picture and say, this is what's happening. We need to change the electoral system. We need to change the system how we tally things. We need to change how our candidates are chosen. We need to change what happens in Congress. We need to change what happens in the electoral college. We need to change what happens with the Secretary of State and the governor and the president. We need to change all those pieces because all those pieces are moving in our system of democracy, that we choose to name it. And we, the people, need to have a country where we can live and be prosperous and productive, efficient, and passionate of what we do. We can't be fighting among ourselves. We can't be pulling each other's hair out. We need to find cohesion, harmony, inclusiveness, to use a fancy word, and move on this. But where is it? There's no fraud. How come all the red states nobody pointed at those having fraud? Check one of the red states. See if there's fraud. Check New Mexico. Did he have fraud? I mean, Trump won New Mexico. Let's check Iowa. Let's check Kansas. Did they have fraud? I mean, let's check it. Let's compare signatures. Let's do all this. Where it has malice. Where malice comes in within the leadership, and that takes senators. You have senators like Mitch McConnell, like Lindsey Graham, like Ted Cruz, like Marco Rubio, and the list goes on and on. Joni Ernst, and you keep going down that list, and you're going to find out that what you see is not what you're getting. You see one thing, you get another thing. So instead of these people being honest with each other, these people being cooperative, these people being reflective of the population that exists in their state, they're not. They have their own thinking, and they have now created an enclave meaning like a gang, an enclave, where now they joined into a super agenda where they're going to do their thing, and the hell with the people. I mean, does that make sense, people in Kentucky? Does that make sense, people in South Carolina? Does that make sense, people over there in West Virginia, in Virginia, in Ohio? Does that make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's just a conspiracy theory, and we're going to go into that in another video. I'm going to address conspiracy theories, but it's a conspiracy theory. It's an illusion of what it's not, and they want to create this illusion, like David Copperfield creates illusions that he has magic, but it's the illusion that makes it all seem real. You see David Copperfield and many of the magicians out there. Of course, he's a big name over in that world, and he mesmerizes you because he took a locket out of you. He passed it through your ear. Magic. It's an illusion. It's all an illusion. But it creates the hype. It creates the environment. It creates a sense of reality that is not existent. It's the illusion. And Donald Trump did an illusion trip on many, many people, millions of people. He had the stage. He has been practicing this. It's not something that happened overnight. That's another thing that he misnomered. A misnomer is that he says it's one thing, but it's really another. It's not totally reality. And he said he's not a politician. He is a politician. He's been working at being a politician for many years. He's a wannabe politician. That's what he is. He's a wannabe politician. And he's been practicing being on the stage, carrying this mesmerizing mirage that he does. And that's what it is. It's a mirage. And people buy it. I mean, at least some of the funny people, Late Late Show, and you got Stephen Colbert, and then you got some all this other people who are funny people. I mean, you at least have an idea that they're being satirical, they're being funny. But you get somebody who, even the movies categorize, oh, this is a comedy. You know, So if it's not a comedy, they don't say it's a comedy. They say it's a drama. They say it's a horror movie. They identify things as they are. But this guy, Donald Trump, he doesn't identify things, and then he has malice. So the fraud case has this been debacled because no journalist is going to pursue it because there's no story behind it and there's no Pulitzer Prize behind it either. So the career of a journal that pursues a fictitious and fantasious lie will end up in a clerk's desk sorting the mail. And his journalistic career is over. Same with the lawyers. Many lawyers just decided not to follow Trump. Why? Because their careers are at stake. They're finding an illusion. They're not even. They can't even say this is a bad guy or this is a good guy. You know, they're stuck between a rock and a hard spot, and that's a hard deal to get out of when you're between a rock and a hard spot. It's kind of like the Joker in the Dark Knight of Batman. What happens when a unstoppable force? He's an immovable object. Think about that. An object will not move at all, and a force that won't stop at all. What happens when they collide? They explode each other. Self destruction. Who stays alive? Well, maybe the unmovable, because that was just there, not moving, so it remains, and the other one got all exploded in itself. Having said all this, with respect to journalism, let's look at some of the things that some people have done. They have changed the world. They have impacted the world and not created chaos, but created a sense of responsibility and a forward movement. Moving forward movement. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, that's a Christian guy. In case you guys don't know who people in the Christian world are, and you only follow ding dongs out there in TV land, that are preachers in TV land, and they mesmerize you with their talk and their analogies and their jokes, and they cite the Bible in 1,000 different ways where you don't even know where it's coming from. They bombard you with all kinds of little sites of the Bible and say, "Oh, Isaiah just said this, and Revelation says this, and Corinthians says this, and Romans says this, and uh, Daniel says this, and Genesis says this," and they just go from one side of the Bible like a yo-yo. When if you read the Bible, you get to see content. You see where things are moving, how they're moving, and what's happening. You just don't pull a verse here and a verse there and put them together and say that's what it means. Says who? Says them because they went to school and did it. Yeah, that's a lying school. That's kind of like Trump University. It's a bunch of lies, and you get nowhere. Theologians have to be honest with each other. They have to actually know what they're doing and say, we are theologians and we're going to convey the truth of the Bible. We're gonna say this is the truth. So Dietrich Bonhoeffer is a theologian, German theologian, and he died in prison protesting the Nazi Hitler, the Nazi regime, and the way they were treating the Christians and the Jews. They were killing them in concentration camps. So that in itself is someone who brought the attention of the worst of the rest of the world on Germany and see what the Third Reich was doing. And many people became aware of the detriment of the bad things that Hitler was doing. Evil things. Totally evil. Then in another situation, you had Muhammad Gandhi, a guy who starved himself, not to death, but he starved himself close to death, and changed the life of India to a democracy where now they could be free from the governance and slavery of the British Empire. So he was the one who sparked the flame so the British could walk away. And and the people of India came together when he did this, a silent protest, non-violent protest, no turning over of cars, no burning buildings, nothing. It was a non-violent protest, and he sat there so people could see him, and the British could see him, and people became aware, and they said he's not moving, he's not eating, he's not doing anything. And what he said is true. We are slaves of the British. We are not, we're oppressed from the British. We are ruled by the British. We need to reign ourselves. We are free people. And they became free people. That's America. That's somebody who lives and dies for the people, not boast that he takes credit of how well the British are doing. They don't boast how well the Indian economy is because he's there not eating, starving himself. He boasts because he made a secret trade deal with the British or with whoever, and they're gonna back him up. No, he's not looking for self. He's looking out for others. Did Trump look out for others? Is he looking out for me? Is he looking out for you? What is he doing right now? Right now, he just wants to pass a law, deregulate, that they kill chickens and pass them through the through the chicken slaughterhouse as fast as they can and put it on the market. What does that mean to us, the consumer? To you, the consumer? It means that we are exposed to salmonella because they don't stay in the water long enough to be decontaminated, move along the assembly line, and be cleaned out. So when they get to the store, they're 99% free. Maybe there's always a 1% chance, or maybe it's a 99.9%. There's a 0.01% chance that one chicken could have contamination somewhere. But the odds are very, very low. And that in essence is what's happening right now. Why did he do that? Does he want to help Tyson chicken people to get richer? And we, the tail end of the by eating the product, we're going to be sicker, and we're going to die. And does he care if we die? He don't care if we die. He doesn't care about the coronavirus killing people either. The only thing he cares about is himself and how he's going to treat himself and how many kickbacks he's going to get before he gets out of the presidency. That's what he wants to assure himself. He wants to assure himself that he's able to go and collect from those just like a gangster would, like they used to do. Knock, knock, knock. Open the door. Give me my contribution so you guys can be continue doing business in this neighborhood. That's wrong. That's wrong. 1968. Martin Luther King marches to Washington with the freedom people, nonviolent, and that's where he delivers his "I Have a Dream" presentation. Later, after that moment, 2 or 3 weeks later, they killed him. You wonder sometimes about this. Back in the Vietnam War, 1970, 1963, in Saigon, a Vietnamese Buddhist burned himself alive And that caught the attention of the people. 1970, the Black of the Night. Women were protesting in rallies and protesting, and they should protest in today's world too. I mean, what's with the woman? I like to have a circle of women. I mean, I would love to have a circle of women so I can interact with them and ask them questions and see what their perspective is with respect to what the conflict that they live in. Because not only there's racial racism in this country, there's also denigration towards the women. That is terrible. That's absolutely terrible. On one side, racism. You don't like the blacks, and people don't like. And then on the other side, like the Mexicans, you don't like the Chinese. And on the other side, you exploit the women, you rape the women, you kill the women. What's with that? What is with that? I don't understand. I don't understand where all this comes from. 1994, Nelson Mandela also did a global imprisoned, global sacrifice to end apartheid. I hope I said the word right and I didn't butcher it. But he's another person, Nelson Mandela, who lived to help his people rewrite a constitution to have a certain level of fairness, a great level of fairness, so the people in in South Africa and the surrounding countries could come together and live better, have better economic life. That's what this is all about. Where are we going with all this? Where are we going with this Trump? I don't want to concede. Hopefully, I said it right, Tim. I don't want to accept my loss. I mean, take it. If he's somebody who cares for the people, who cares for the 74 million people that voted for him, he should just pack his bags and say, we're going to work at this and I'll be back in 2024. I'm going to try again, and because I believe in the people, and I think I want to help them out. But how has he helped you? That's the question I want to understand, because he hasn't helped me. I'm still at the bottom of the ditch, and I'm still working two jobs, and I still got to pay bills, and I still owe money left and right. Can't get out of the ditch because I owe all this money. So what's it going to take for a president of a leading country who grows domestic product, even though it measures in small amounts, is not equivalent to like any other country says, oh, I have 8% gross domestic product, but that doesn't mean shit. I'm sorry to use that word also. 3.4, 4.0 in the US means 8.0 in another country, like China or like, I don't know, India or Brazil, all these countries. They come out with big GDPs, but that's because they have inflationary money and devalued money. So the numbers are always going to be ridiculously high. Nonetheless, we can deflate those and have an actual view of what their gross domestic product is or gross national product is. The value that comes into this are their export import relationship that they have. And many countries have a great export balance, a positive trade balance, and not only that, but a positive capital balance. So that's it. That's in a global perspective what's happening around the world. Yet in our world, right now where we are, we're still battling a concept of fraud, which is meaningless. Rudy Giuliani, who's a clown, I mean, he should be debarred. He's an embarrassment to anybody who goes to law school. And nobody, even the Trump himself and his family, they don't give a shit about the people. I'm sorry to use that word, but that's as clear as daylight. And people from West Virginia understand that. The Hill people over there in the Appalachian understand what I said. And he's not a Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He's certainly not a Vietnamese monk who burned himself to free his people. He's not the women at the dark of the night who's out there protesting and hoping for women's rights to be legal and for women to be respected and not used as trash, or the civil rights movement, which have been losing and losing significance ever since LBJ. So civil rights hasn't gone forward any more than when they killed Martin Luther King. It's a stagnant situation because police are killing blacks. They're being abusive. There's no control over the police, and there should be control over the police. And that's something that should be happening. Why did those people choose that career? It's a career like any other career, like going to be a doctor, like being a priest, like being an accountant, like being an administrator, like being a nurse. What makes that a unique fraternity? It's not a unique fraternity. It should be something that people choose because they want to help their community. They want to safeguard their community. They're not there to exploit the community or to harass the community or to bully the community. But they should be able to be more educated and better mannered and have better alternatives in what they're doing. And they should also be able to speak with the truth, not mumble their mouth with a lot of mush. Speak clear. You're not doing no secret stuff, man. That's the last thing you're doing. So we have come to the end of our video. Hopefully this has been something that you guys can meditate on during the holidays. And I wish you the best turkey in the world. I know we're under abnormal times, but the abnormality of our times is conducive also because the way they handle the coronavirus pandemic. And Trump came in angry and debacled everything, destroyed everything because he didn't like the black man, he didn't like George Bush, he didn't like Clinton. I mean, he just debacled everything because he wanted to be king of the hill. He wanted to be the admired person. He wanted to have all the hugs. He wanted to have all the praise and worship. That was his deal. He wanted to control the country. He wanted to be just like Hitler. He wanted to be a monarch, just like King George, the one who we got liberated from. It's like King George we revived in Donald Trump. So I'll leave you with this analysis that I made, all this information that I captured, and hopefully it's helped you to reflect on what's going on here in our country. I give you a great holiday tribute to everybody who is listening to me. Thank you and have a blessed holiday.